Have you ever heard of the Emerald Tablet and how it might be the key to understanding the origin of all religions? It's truly fascinating. Even Nikola Tesla mentioned that he drew inspiration from this ancient text. Along these lines, we find an intriguing figure, Thoth. According to Egyptian mythology, he is considered the architect of our reality, responsible for creating the universe as we know it. That is, everything around us. Thoth is said to have created the world of duality, a reality composed of binary codes of 0 and 1. Today's topic is complex, but we're going to dive into one of the mysteries of ancient Egypt. And not just Egypt, but also other places where important mystical figures in our history were initiated into deep knowledge. The story of the Emerald Tablets dates back to around 36,000 years before Christ. These tablets are said to have been brought to Earth by Thoth, the king of Atlantis, who later became the king of Egypt. He was the god who led and ruled Egypt for an astonishing 16,000 years. Clearly he wasn't human, right? He was the Egyptian god of magic and all branches of wisdom and the arts. Thoth is also credited with inventing hieroglyphic writing. In art, he is typically depicted with the head of an ibis or a baboon, animals sacred to him. Additionally, he was one of the siblings of the goddess Isis. This god was also the archivist and secretary of divine meetings, recording everything he heard in those sacred gatherings. And beyond not being human, this entity was immortal. The official history of Egypt, the one we learn from history books, tells us that the pyramids were built by Pharaoh Khufu. However, there is information you'll never find in school textbooks. The pyramids were never used as tombs, contrary to what the official history suggests. In fact, Thoth, the first Egyptian god, was the one who built them, and this supposedly happened between 36,000 and 16,000 years before Christ. This narrative isn't something I made up. It's engraved on the walls of the Temple of Thoth. His name means thought and time. Thoth is considered the architect of our reality, responsible for the creation of the universe, everything we know. He created the world of duality, the reality we are familiar with, filled with binary codes like 0 and 1, which many associate with the concept of the Matrix. When Thoth needed to leave Egypt, he supposedly built the Great Pyramids as a gateway to the mind, according to the history described in the temples. This is something detailed in the Emerald Tablets. Later on, Thoth was recognized as the god of wisdom, thanks to the teachings he passed on to the Egyptian people. The Emerald Tablets, which he wrote based on the knowledge he gained during his time in Atlantis, were stored in the Great Pyramid. In total, he left behind 10 tablets. These tablets are like a sacred book, filled with deep and powerful wisdom, so much so that they were forbidden from being shared with the world. The texts contained within them are considered the most influential and sacred for alchemists, viewed as the foundation of Egyptian civilization. These tablets are said to contain the secret of the prima materia, which is believed to be the starting point for transforming any metal into gold. Perhaps this is why the Egyptians possessed so much wealth, particularly in gold. Isaac Newton was one of those who intensely studied the teachings contained in the Emerald Tablets, referring to them as unares. The figure of Hermes Trismegistus, or Hermes Thrice Great, is closely associated with Thoth. He is credited with founding a philosophy called Hermeticism, considered the esoteric science of the West. Over time, this philosophy expanded, incorporating Jewish Kabbalah, medieval alchemy, Islamic occult sciences from the Golden Age, and was later integrated into Renaissance and Enlightenment knowledge. Today, Hermeticism is seen as a broad philosophy encompassing hidden values and pure magic. Believe it or not, this philosophy is said to have originated with the god Thoth around 36,000 years before Christ. But where did he come from, and did he really exist? Official sources suggest that Hermes Trismegistus was a kind of reincarnation of the god Thoth, a figure that emerged from the fusion of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. The famous occultist Aleister Crowley claimed that at one point the Egyptian god Thoth began appearing to him, revealing all the knowledge contained in the Emerald Tablet. With this information, Crowley wrote a book and codified the Thoth Tarot in 1944. This book still exists and can be purchased, as well as the Thoth Tarot. At some point in history, the Emerald Tablet, the book written by the god Thoth, was lost. However, it's believed that it was rediscovered by Apollonius of Tyana, a man whose life bore an uncanny resemblance to that of Jesus Christ. Because of this and his involvement with the occult, he was often referred to as the pagan Jesus. However, the Church strongly denies any connection, insisting that Apollonius of Tyana and Jesus were entirely different figures. In fact, the Church even questions the existence of Apollonius himself, so it's up to you to draw your own conclusions. Regardless, Apollonius of Tyana was a Greek philosopher who followed Hermeticism, meaning he adhered to the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, whom many believe to be a reincarnation of Thoth, a spiritual figure. Once, Apollonius of Tyana consulted an oracle in his city, and the oracle told him to investigate beneath a statue of Hermes, where he would find something extraordinary that would change his life. After this consultation, Apollonius went to the statue of Hermes and discovered a hidden entrance at its base, leading to an underground passage. There he found a secret chamber, and inside it the body of Hermes Trismegistus seated on a golden throne. In Hermes's hands was none other than the Emerald Tablet. Whether this story is true or not, we'll never know for sure. What we do know is that after this alleged encounter, Apollonius of Tyana made remarkable contributions to alchemy and the occult sciences. He crafted talismans from precious stones and metals, which were distributed across various cities to protect their inhabitants from diseases, plagues, death, and even natural disasters. Now, I'm not suggesting that the Catholic Church appropriated Apollonius's name, far from it. However, it's a fact that because of this story, all the talismans he created were destroyed by the Church, as they were considered satanic objects. Unfortunately, this means we no longer have access to these powerful stones. Researchers in the occult arts, along with more spiritual-minded Egyptologists, believe that the god Thoth, a non-human entity, passed down all the essential knowledge needed for the development of Egyptian civilization at that time. There are also some theories suggesting that Thoth may have reincarnated as Hermes Trismegistus, known as Hermes by the Greeks and Mercury by the Romans. Unlike many other gods, Thoth is famous for having lived in Egypt even before the rise of civilization and during its early years. According to some stories, he had the power to access altered states of consciousness, explore non-physical dimensions, and gain knowledge about the entire universe. After all, Thoth was considered the architect of our reality, responsible for creating everything we know and are. What's most surprising is that he lived among humans in ancient Egypt, developing a close relationship with the people. Inscriptions on the walls of the Temple of Thoth claim that he could access this knowledge while entering a type of meditative trance. Through this state, he was able to connect with those around him and activate dormant parts of the human brain, which enhanced people's development. Perhaps this explains why Egyptian civilization became so magnificent. Thoth is said to have altered people's DNA, and those who came into contact with this god experienced versions of reality they had never encountered before. Interestingly, this story repeated itself years later with Hermes Trismegistus and later with Apollonius of Tyana, who some associate with Jesus. In Egypt, in the city of Qasr el-Aguz, there is a small temple dedicated to Thoth, built during the earliest periods. Thoth is one of the most important gods in Egyptian culture, and his image can be seen on various temple walls. Some researchers believe that Thoth was responsible for creating the famous curse of Tutankhamun due to his deep knowledge of the occult, knowledge that supposedly was contained in the Emerald Tablets. If you're interested in the Pharaoh's curse and other curses, leave a comment. There are three planes of existence: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. The spirit manifests in both the mental and physical realms, and everything is an expression of what we call the All. Just as Muslims refer to Allah and Christians and Jews to God, this concept of divinity is fully integrated into the All. In Hermetic teachings, it's preferred not to personify God. Assigning human qualities to the divine can limit our understanding, a practice that mystical traditions usually avoid, while Hermes Trismegistus, in his second incarnation, attempted to establish a monotheistic religion. He didn't view the sun as God, but considered it a deity. Now, let's explore the three main laws that emerge from this book. Why were ancient civilizations so obsessed with the idea of the three planes of existence? Did they discover something that modern science is still trying to understand? The first law discussed here states that, as above, so below, what comes from above comes from below. This suggests that our world is governed by duality. Have you ever wondered why spiritual masters often speak of dualities? They understand that the essence of this world is dual: yin and yang, hot and cold, light and darkness. Every element has two opposite poles. We live in a world that constantly presents us with these opposites and contradictions. But why does this happen? Because this world is illusory and in constant flux. Consider how, in society, political parties swing between right and left, constantly shifting from one side to the other. These are ideologies that move from one extreme to another. Today, someone might firmly believe in something, and years later, they could adopt a completely opposite view, only to eventually return to a temporary balance until the cycle repeats. This is why the ancient masters of the East always spoke of transcending the veil of Maya, breaking free from this illusion and surpassing appearances to reach what is permanent in a state of ongoing impermanence. Therefore, duality is always evolving, constantly in flux, which means it's always changing. For me, understanding this was crucial. Maybe you've also gone through periods of stagnation in your life. You know those times when you feel stuck, uninspired, or unmotivated, living the same days over and over. It feels like nothing is changing, right? No matter how good your life may seem, if you feel stuck, you are stuck. As human beings, we have a constant desire to grow, evolve, and improve every day. If we stay in the same place, it becomes a prison, even if it's the most comfortable prison in the world. During our journey, we often believe we've found the right path. Something might seem like it should work, because it's worked for others. However, just because a method worked for someone doesn't mean it's ideal for all of us. We can learn valuable lessons and principles, but each of us has a unique path to follow. It's crucial not to get stuck on old methods. We need to learn to let go. Life is a duality in constant transformation, always renewing itself. We often believe we've found the right path, but just because something worked in the past doesn't mean it will still be effective. What got us to one point might not take us further. It's essential to keep an open mind and question what the right path is for us now. This might sound a bit esoteric, but think about it in any area of your life where you feel stuck. Ask yourself, what limiting beliefs am I holding on to? What am I clinging to that's keeping me from moving forward? Just taking a moment to reflect on these questions can naturally lead you to the answers. In short, the quality of your life is not determined by the answers you have, but by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. As above, so below. Everything is a reflection. What image are you reflecting in the mirror? Remember, the mirror won't smile until you smile first. We need to consciously change what we reflect in order to see external changes. Let's delve into a key idea from the text, the notion that there's something within us that is absolutely certain, without any doubt. What do you make of that? Is there something within you that is unquestionably true? We can have doubts about our identity, about whether we really are who we think we are, or even about the place we were born. After all, memories can deceive us. Today, I may perceive my body in a certain way, but that perception is always changing. Cells break down, and nothing is eternal. Eventually, my body will perish. But what within me is eternal? What has always been, is, and always will be. This is what we call consciousness. Inside you, there exists a constant awareness, a capacity to observe and witness that has been present since you were 4 years old and will continue to be there when you're 30, 40, 50, or 60. This consciousness transcends time and isn't affected by it. The ancient yogis simply identified it as consciousness, a formless entity. When consciousness manifests, it becomes localized, and we call it the mind. So, you can say you are conscious, but where does that consciousness go when we sleep? Even when we are unconscious during sleep, consciousness in its essence is still present. Consciousness has a duality. Is there something beyond it? Even when we're not aware, this perception is always within our reach, even if we don't notice it during sleep. Sri Ramana Maharshi, a renowned sage, delved deeply into this topic in his book, Who Am I? Maharshi proposes a method to go beyond the mind and body, surpassing the physical and mental barriers to access pure, unlimited, and formless consciousness. The practice of consciously manifesting the version of yourself that you want to be, rather than being unconsciously shaped by external expectations, is essential. Understand that form emerges from the formless. The key to exploring this method, which goes beyond thought, is simple. Carefully observe what arises in each moment and allow it to happen. When a thought appears, it should be accepted and observed, but it does not define who you are. You simply observe it and move forward. So the question arises, to whom does this thought occur? The answer is you. But then who is this I? Who am I really? At first, you might try to answer superficially, listing physical traits or surface-level identities, but the challenge is to go deeper and discover who you truly are. As you dig deeper, you start to touch the essence of your being. This essence is the root that we all share. To whom does this arise? And then, who am I? These questions lead us directly to the third and final law revealed in the Emerald Tablet. The text clearly references a fundamental law, describing how the earth carries within it, and the wind nourishes it, as if the earth were transforming into fire. There's a striking phrase that says, "As above, so below, and as below, so above," to accomplish the miracles of one thing. This illustrates the idea that everything has a common origin. In ancient times, the greatest possible reward was achieved through alchemy, which aimed to transform base metals like lead into gold. However, in the Emerald Tablet, this transformation of metals is actually a metaphor for something much deeper, the transmutation of our inner being towards enlightenment and the attainment of higher states of consciousness. This is exemplified by the story of Thoth, or Hermes Trismegistus, whose mastery of transmutation granted him secret powers and the ability to perform extraordinary feats. No power compares to this. With this understanding, the philosopher's stone mentioned by Hermes Trismegistus, or whoever wrote the Emerald Tablet, is not just about turning common metals into gold, but also symbolizes the power of imagination, an inner force that we all possess. This is the supposed story of Thoth and the teachings of the Emerald Tablets. We don't know if the story is true, but somehow these teachings have been passed down to this day and kept in total secrecy. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like topics like this or want to interact, feel free to comment. I'll leave 2 recommended videos here. See you next time.